Good morning. President Park Geun-hye is slated to meet with floor leaders from the two main rival parties for the first time since becoming president, seeking cooperation. Word has it Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is seeking a new security minister for a cabinet reshuffle scheduled for September. This following the lifting of its ban on collective self-defense. And some of the cutest, wildest, and nuttiest feeds from the net, including these furry little critters that take a bite out of everything. Korea's fan dance is a crowd favorite and easier said than done, as one viewer finds out on Korea Today, Monday, July 7th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
Hope your week is off to a great start. I'm Oh Jin-joo alongside Kim Min-jung and Kim Young. Today we start with a government announcement made by North Korea just about an hour ago.
That's right. North Korea's broadcaster KCNA, the state-run broadcaster, has announced that North Korea is going to send the National Cheer Squad beauties. I don't know how to label that, right? But they're going to send them for the Asian Games, the 17th Asian Games, which is slated for September.
That's right. And what you're looking at is the footage from 2002, the Busan Asian Games. And these beauties caught the attention of many here in South Korea when they came in 2002. And there is a saying, there's a phrase in Korean, namnam 중녀, which referred to the fact, I suppose, that the males, the men in South Korea are more handsome and the women in North Korea are more beautiful. That's up for debate, I think. But a big welcome to them when they do come in September. All right, we'll leave that there and check our top story. This morning, President Park Geun-hye will sit down with floor leaders of the main and opposition parties later this week for the first time since taking office to discuss her government's state of affairs and ask for bipartisan cooperation in passing pending bills. President Park is expected to focus on getting the government reorganization proposal drawn up after the Seoul ferry disaster passed, as well as bills aimed at reviving the economy and increasing social welfare. The gathering with the ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy comes at a sensitive time when lawmakers are set to hold confirmation hearings for key nominees of the cabinet and ahead of the by-elections scheduled for July 30th. President Park will seek a solution to the confirmation hearing procedure following repeated withdrawals of nominees for key government posts, which has debilitated her reform measures.
Commercial satellite imagery suggests North Korea's experimental light water reactor is almost ready to go, and once complete, the reactor will give Pyongyang the ability to build 5 to 6 nuclear warheads each year. Charles Ferguson, president of the Federation of American Scientists, warned that the light water reactor at the Yongbyon Scientific Research Center will be able to produce 30 to 40 kilograms of plutonium a year, enough for up to 6 nuclear warheads. According to reports, the communist regime has completed construction of both the exterior and the interior of the 35-megawatt reactor and is awaiting testing of the reactor's components. Ferguson adds that Pyongyang currently has over 30 kilograms of plutonium and can currently produce enough plutonium for 1 nuclear warhead each year.
And watch out for Typhoon Noguri, which has strengthened into the year's first super typhoon as it makes its way to the Korean peninsula. Noguri, which will pass through Japan's Okinawa, packing winds of up to 240 kilometers per hour, is expected to approach Korea tomorrow, bringing gusty winds and rain showers with it. Korea's southernmost island of Jeju-do is forecast to see high waves and strong winds starting on Tuesday afternoon, lasting until the 10th. Weather experts say the typhoon will make a northeast turn to Japan's Kyushu region later in the week. Residents on Korea's southern parts are advised to make the necessary preparations ahead of the landfall.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is reportedly planning to nominate a new minister in charge of national security in a cabinet reshuffle scheduled for September. Japan's daily Yomiuri Shimbun says the new post will likely be held by one of the incumbent cabinet ministers. Now, the move comes in line with the Japanese cabinet's approval last week of a proposal to reinterpret the nation's pacifist constitution that lifts the self-imposed ban on exercising its right to collective self-defense. And concerns are growing in Northeast Asia as well as in Japan over the Abe administration's push to boost its military presence. And for more, let's connect live to our Choi Hyung-ju. Good morning, Hyung-ju.
Good morning, Jinju. Article 9 of Japanese Constitution prohibits any threat or use of the military force, and it's also known as the peace clause of its constitution. And it's rather symbolic in terms of Japan's repentance for its war crimes, but Abe cabinet's reinterpretation on collective self-defense seems to be making a U-turn, and now it's also stirring up tensions in the region. Ever since Japanese Prime Minister Abe approved collective self-defense, massive protests continue every day in front of his official residence. A man even set himself on fire in apparent protest. Yet Abe remains adamant, though more than half of the Japanese public is against the move.
To protect the lives of Japanese citizens, the cabinet's decision is to have the military protect U.S. ships.
For Japan to exercise collective self-defense, it would require about a year to have detailed restructuring of its system. Despite strong public opposition, Prime Minister Abe allowed collective self-defense in order to revise the constitution to have a war right in the distant future.
The U.S. still has wartime operational control, or OPCON, of South Korea. This raises concerns about the possibility of having Japanese military actions on the Korean peninsula at the request of the U.S. But this is unlikely, since international law states that it requires the host country's approval to dispatch military forces overseas.
Once again, we make it clear that the security of the Korean peninsula and issues affecting the interest of Koreans will not be approved without our request or agreement.
Reactions vary among neighboring countries regarding Abe cabinet's approval for an increased military role. Spokesperson of the U.S. State Department Jen Psaki says Japan has every right to equip themselves in the way they deem necessary. Soon after the Abe cabinet's announcement, Chinese Foreign Minister spokesperson Hong Lei stated that Japan must not undermine China's sovereignty and security interests, nor shall it harm regional peace and stability. China has criticized Japan's military expansion and is watching the U.S.-Japan alliance closely.
If South Korea takes the side of the U.S., it would lead to the emergence of a ROK U.S.-Japan Regional Security Alliance defense system. This would mean a major loss for China in terms of the Northeast Asian security system. So in that perspective, Beijing is concerned and has a negative view on Japan's approval of collective self-defense.
Back in February, Abe included North Korea as an example for Japan to exercise collective self-defense. This opened the door to Japanese military actions on the Korean peninsula. The types of Japanese military actions include cases such as escorting U.S. aircraft or ships with Japanese refugees and countermeasures to protect allied U.S. vessels.
From a Korean perspective, Seoul opposes approving Japan's self-defense, conservative shift and militarization. But if the U.S. supports such a move by Japan, this clashes with our stance. Not only that, it would aggravate the Sino-U.S. relations. To address the issues of North Korea, South Korea is involved with multilateral relations with neighboring countries, including China and the U.S., so the dilemma deepens for Seoul.
The presidential office says President Park Geun-hye and her counterpart Xi Jinping agreed that Japan's unwavering attitude toward revising history is quite disconcerting, even as it seeks to expand its rights to self-defense.
I presume this issue was raised during Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Seoul. I believe China must have asked South Korea to at least maintain its neutrality between China and the U.S.-Japan alliance.
As the Japanese government has approved collective self-defense, Northeast Asia is facing a major uncertainty. It's important for Korea to take firm action. It should determine the hidden political agenda of the Abe administration and demand transparency in Japan's military procedure while protecting Korea's sovereignty and security.
So, Hyung-ju, many experts are saying that Japan's right-wing shift is affecting the diplomatic dynamics in Northeast Asia. Where does South Korea stand in this complex web of relations?
Well, as you can see, this move by Japan is adding more complications here in this region. So if it does exercise collective defense on the Korean peninsula or other neighboring countries, it would only worsen the relations between Seoul and Tokyo, and also it would lead the actions from China as well. So Jinju, it's ultimately a game changer, weakening the checks by South Korea, Japan, China, and U.S. against North Korea, while expanding the power of Pyongyang in the region.
The relationships among the key players in the region are definitely getting increasingly complicated. Thank you, Hyung-ju, for that report. That was our Jaye Hyung-ju reporting on the shift in power dynamics in Northeast Asia amid Japan's move towards exercising its right to collective self-defense.
Happy Monday morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. And a lot of the papers today have opinions and thoughts on the aftermath of the summit between Presidents Park Geun-hye and Xi Jinping, which did just take place last Thursday and Friday. Now, some of them are talking about what stance Korea should take and how the country should diplomatically strategize from this point on. So let's first take a look at a regarding story on the front page of Gyeongyang Shinmun. Now the headline says, improve inter-Korean relations to strengthen strategic position. And if you take a look at the subtitle above the main headline, it says Korea's choice amid the riptides of Northeast Asia. The article says that the latest summit between Korea and China was a stance to reveal a confusing and rather chaotic phase of transition within Northeast Asia's changing situations. And it is time now for South Korea to take a step forward in its relationship with the North in order to reinforce its tactical position. Now, if you take a look at this, the paper is giving a set of what it's calling diplomatic temperatures of the Korean peninsula and the surrounding countries. Now, in terms of politics and economy, as well as the military. And the color red represents hot temperatures, which signifies friendly ties in this case, while the blue dots indicate cold or hostile relations. Now, for instance, it's first citing the relationship between Korea and China. And in the field of politics, they're saying that ties have improved from hostile to friendly. Now, in terms of the economy, it's saying that the relationship is quite amicable. And lastly, in the military aspect, rather antagonistic. Meanwhile, over on 동아일보, there's another top story regarding the same issue and also on the diplomatic position that Korea should take. Now, this one is titled New Practical Diplomacy Needed Amid U.S.-China-Japan Turbulence. This article is noting that Korea is at a crossroads, faced with a dilemma in national interest as it has been left with an important assignment following Chinese President Xi Jinping's recent visit. And the subheadlines here, they're saying that Korea needs to find the right point of contact with the rest of the surrounding powers and learn to expand on it. Now, to do that, the Daily says a detailed or minute diplomatic approach is necessary so that it can support Korea's strategic value on a practical level. Now, in the meantime, we'll take a quick look at this image as well on the left. This is titled Korean Naval Vessel Succeeds in Simultaneously Intercepting 2 Targets. This was at this year's Rim of the Pacific or RIMPAC naval exercises over in Hawaii, where a multinational fleet comprised of vessels from 22 countries, including Korea, the U.S., China, and Japan participated. And the Korean Aegis succeeded in simultaneously intercepting 2 targets there, which was its first time ever to do so. Now, moving on to 조선일보, we'll take a look at the top headline regarding an interview done on North Koreans living in China. And the headline says, North Korean residents say reunification needed for economic development. We'll take a look at the pie chart here. And the Daily, together with the Center for Cultural Unification Studies, did a survey on 100 North Koreans living in China, and 95 of them actually said that they believe that unification is necessary, and a whopping 97 of them actually responded that they think unification would bring each of them benefit on an individual level. Now on to some business news. First on the Korea Economic Daily. This one in the middle regarding Hyundai Motors. And these are vehicles in Russia. And the headline says, Hyundai Motors to increase output in Russia to 300,000 cars a year. Now, the article says that the company plans to establish more factories in Russia early next year to add 100,000 more cars in production to the current 200,000 as demand for Hyundai cars is increasing in the country. And finally, for a look at the Mail Business newspaper, this one's on Samsung Electronics. And it looks like Samsung Electronics is tightening its grip on its management in a bid to overcome yet another crisis following a series of earnings forecasts for the second quarter. The headline says Samsung Electronics loses $8 billion in profits, tightening management crisis. Now, growth of their major products, including smartphones and TVs, have been decelerating, and the company is seeking to break through difficulties by tightening its business management. Now, Samsung stressed that it would pursue its growth engine from uncharted business areas, including wearable devices, B2B, and medical equipment. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Monday. Now, coming up are the stock numbers from Friday.
So Typhoon Noguri is fast approaching the Korean peninsula, and the name Noguri refers to a raccoon. I don't know why it's named a raccoon, this typhoon.
Well, it beats me, but from what I understand, that every nation around Asia where typhoons do affect the region, they do get a chance to turn around and name a typhoon that develops, and it happened to land on N, so it became Noguri.
Okay, that explains a lot.
That's right. Now, this typhoon is going to begin to affect us beginning tomorrow.
That's right.
I understand.
So, and for a closer look at this, our Chun Sung-cho is standing by outdoors for us. So let's go over to her right now. Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from the Gwanghwamun Plaza. And yes, like you guys have mentioned, Typhoon Noguri has intensified into the first super typhoon this year as it was moving northwest over the western Pacific after it originated near Guam last Friday. As of now, the Korea Meteorological Administration predicts that it will pass near Okinawa as early as tonight and make a northeast turn toward Japan before hitting the Korean peninsula. But the outermost rain bands of the typhoon are still expected to bring some strong wind, heavy rain, and also large waves in the southern regions starting around tomorrow. Jeju will be hit the hardest in Korea, with the storm just off its southern shore, and the residents have been warned to make necessary preparations. Hopefully, the impact stays minimal. And with that, let's move on over to take a closer look at today's forecast. Today is going to be a scorcher, especially in the central regions, with Seoul and Daejeon in the 30s at 32 and 30 respectively. But the southern regions will stay relatively cooler with a lot of clouds. Busan, Jeju, and Gangneung will be the coolest with highs of 26 degrees Celsius. Jeollanam-bukdo and Gyeongsangnam-do provinces will see even light drizzles. Tomorrow will be a rainy day nationwide, and this is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Minjung.
Thank you, Sung-cho. Time now for a look through our global headlines. For that, we'll turn things over to our Eunice Kim, who joins us from the News Center. Good morning.
Good morning, Minjung.
Let's begin with the weekend's developments from last week's apparent revenge killing of a Palestinian teen, and they have made some arrests in Israel.
That's right, Minjung. We are hearing of 6 arrests this morning of Jewish suspects connected to the abduction and death of 17-year-old Mohammed Abu Kader. Now, not much is known about them yet, but Israel's Shin Bet security agency did confirm it is questioning them. And in a twist to this story, his cousin was released from police custody after apparently being brutally beaten by authorities. 15-year-old Tariq Kader is a Palestinian American and had been at a weekend demonstration protesting the death of Mohammed, who was confirmed to have been burned alive by autopsy results. Authorities say Tariq had attacked police officers during the protest, but his family is livid after finding their son severely bruised and swollen. Tariq was conditionally released to 9 days of house arrest, though no charges have been filed against him. The U.S. is calling for a full investigation. Turning to other news now, dozens have been killed in the East African country of Uganda, where Ugandan forces say they've repelled an uprising by tribal militias. It happened in oil-rich districts bordering Congo, where tensions had been rising over land rights. The area is believed to hold as much as 3.5 billion barrels of crude. The attacks began on Saturday when armed rebels stormed army and police stations. By Sunday, at least 41 rebels were reported to have been killed and 20 arrested. The tribal militia killed at least 12 people, including 3 policemen. More army reinforcements have been sent to the region.
Make a note to self if you're traveling to the U.S. Eunice has some new details this morning of those heightened airport screening guidelines that she's warned us about. Tell us more.
Right. The key word this morning is electronics, and this is because, according to Reuters, U.S. authorities will be keeping a particularly close eye on cell phones made by Samsung and Apple. But the U.S. Transportation Security Administration is asking airports operating direct flights to the U.S. worldwide to conduct tougher screenings of electronic equipment in general. Officials could ask travelers to power up these devices, and if it doesn't turn on, it could be denied passage onto the aircraft and the traveler subject to more screening. These guidelines come as U.S. authorities are concerned about a new type of bomb that could bypass current security procedures. It is believed to be in the development stages by terrorists from Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. It is unclear still how many airports, though, will be affected by the beefed-up guidelines. And that's a wrap of the global headlines we're following this morning.
And coming up later on Korea Today, a groom that puts a smile on his blushing bride, men dancing in heels, a clip that all guys with girlfriends can relate to, and of course, adorable animals. All of this and much more coming up on today's viral feed.
Now, there is the traditional classical music person or a player, orchestra, that would like to play at one of those big halls with the sound acoustics in mind, but there are also the classical musicians who are breaking that tradition, and our Im Yoon-hee joins us with more on that. Good morning.
Good morning, Young. Right, so it's called the Yellow Lounge, and it's a group that was originally established in Berlin 7 years ago in the club scene, and they have since grown to a worldwide traveling performance that shows that classical music can adapt to the modern audience, and sometimes a sonata is better on the rocks. Take a look. A surprising place to find world-class classical musicians, the Yellow Lounge has broken the barriers and combined 2 very unlikely ideas. They bring classical music to a constantly evolving audience. Korea was the first Asian country to welcome this group in 2012 at Club Eloise, and it's been a hit ever since. This year, they'll be taking over a couple new local hotspots with all different kinds of musicians, ready to show the audience something new.
Okay, so this is interesting. A lot of classical performers, they would rather perform in a chamber hall or something like that offers good acoustics. Now, clubs are known for the loud acoustics, but I'm not so sure about the sound there without a mic and an amplifier and speakers, right? So they go around clubs performing in lounges.
Exactly, and they actually make use of DJs as well. So they take these classical musicians and combine them with, today's hottest DJs. So a really unique opportunity for, today's audience, and it really does appeal to the younger audience as well.
Okay, so after their first appearance at a local hotel here in Gangnam, right? Now they're going on to perform in other places. What else do they have planned for this year?
Exactly, so they're actually going to be showing a mandolinist performing a very well-known worldwide player, and so this is going to be a very interesting combination with the pianist along with some DJs. So people are really looking forward to this. It's been very successful in the past, and it has been all over the world. I mean, everywhere, and so it's really catching on fast.
Well, it's going to give a lot of the young people to give an excuse for their parents to go to a club. So instead of going dancing, they're going to be listening to Beethoven, Bach, and much more.
Right. So you wouldn't be lying if you told your parents you're going to the club to check out Beethoven.
I don't think mommy would understand or even approve, right?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
Always a pleasure.
All right, stay with us, because still ahead on Korea Today, we are going to meet someone who wants to learn a traditional dance which pretty much represents Korea. Now, a lot of the immigrants that immigrated overseas carried this dance with them, and the foreigners will definitely recognize this. This is the one of the most recognizable traditional dances there, and we're going to be looking at one foreigner who wants to learn the traditional fan dance.
Now, time for news sum up. Is a must to apply more sunblock in the summer to protect our skin from getting too tanned or from aging?
Aging,
Yes,
that's
aging.
the operative word. Well, it's a miracle product when used properly. It's just that not a lot of people use it properly to reap its full benefits. Our Misorang will tell us all about applying sunblock the right way. She joins us from the digital room. Good morning to you, Misorang.
Good morning, guys. So some of the common mistakes we make are not using enough product, not giving enough time to work, and not washing it off thoroughly. I'll expand on each point in just a second, but first, here are the other issues trending online. Today is the beginning of Soseol, the 11th of the 24 solar terms. More on this later. Sunscreens, as we just mentioned. And with numerous disasters occurring lately, Heinlei's law gets attention. It states that for every major accident, there are 29 minor accidents, and that for every minor accident, there are 300 even smaller injury-free accidents. Brazil's Neymar is out of the World Cup with a cracked vertebra, but doctors say there are no neurological damages and that he is expected to make a full recovery in due time. And many keep updated with the latest on Typhoon Noguri as it moves northward from Guam and poses a potential threat to Korea. Now going back to the first listing there, today is the beginning of Soseol, the 11th of the 24 solar terms. It's when the sun reaches the celestial longitude of 105 degrees and usually falls on July 7th in the Gregorian calendar. Soseol means small heat, and like its literal translation, it signals high temperatures, but not the highest temperatures. That occurs in the subsequent term of Daeseo, or big heat. Soseol coincides with the monsoon season, and this combined heat and humidity easily tires everyone. Seasonal fruits and vegetables such as watermelons, grapes, and zucchini contain a high water content to help with dehydration, while the many flour-based dishes that are traditionally eaten during Soseol, such as Korean noodles, are known to lower the body's heat. In agriculture, it's a time for weeding. Rice paddies were weeded in the past, while nowadays in Soseol, bean and millet fields are weeded and herbicides sprayed during this time. Moving on to our next issue, dermatologists and plastic surgeons alike say that the best anti-aging product is not Botox, not retinol, but good old sunblock. We all know it's good for us, so let's see how to use it correctly. First of all, you need to apply a decent amount. To be effective, at least 2 grams of sunscreen must be used per square meter of skin. This translates to roughly 30 mils or 1 shot glass worth for the body and 5 mils or a teaspoon worth for the face. Next, you need to give it time to work. Chemical sunscreens take about 20 minutes to settle into the skin and become active, so you need to apply it a good 30 minutes before you head out the door. Finally, thorough cleansing is just as important as application to avoid skin irritation and dermatitis. It's best to use a dual cleansing routine, first using an oil-based cleanser, followed by a mild water-based cleanser. So next time you reach for your sunscreen, remember these 3 things. Apply a decent amount, wash it off properly, and give it time to work. And with that, it's a wrap-up for today's edition of your Daily News Sum Up.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off in the K-League Classic as the season resumed after the World Cup. And on Sundays, Hangzhou pulled off a 2-1 victory over Incheon United. So let's take a look at the highlights between Ulsan Hyundai Tigers and Seongnam FC. Now going to the match here now, both sides very aggressive from the start, but the first half still ends in a 0-0 draw. But the second half a different story as Ulsan gets on the score sheet first thanks to Yoo Jun-soo, sending one past the goalkeeper as Ulsan takes a 1-0 lead. Clock winding down as Seongnam continues to get aggressive, and it pays off in the 82nd minute when Hwang Hee-jo scores the equalizer as both sides end with a point each with a 1-1 draw. And now staying with football, but over to the Brazil World Cup, where after another exciting quarterfinals, we now have our 4 nations advancing to the next round. So let's take a look at how the bracket looks like so far. Of course, taking a look here with Brazil beating Colombia 2-1 over the weekend. They face off against Germany, who beat France 1-0, but Brazil without Neymar because of the big injury and also without Thiago Silva due to the yellow card accumulation. Meanwhile, Argentina headed to their first semis in 24 years as they're now set to face off with the Netherlands, who barely advanced after beating Costa Rica in penalty shootout. And now moving on to some Sunday's KBO action, we had 2 games rain out as the NC Dinos and the LG Twins were canceled, as well as the SK Wyverns and the Lotte Giants due to the rain down south. Meanwhile, the Samsung Lions hang on to beat the Tucson Bears 7-4. Now, let's take a look at the highlights between the Kia Tigers and the Nexen Heroes. Now, first inning, Kia strikes first thanks to Lee Bum-ho's RBI double to right field, and Kia's up 1-0. Second inning, Nexen answers back with Yoon Sung-min going deep to right center field, and that is gone, and we're tied 1-1. Third inning, get that run back, says Lee Bum-ho, who drills this one to deep left, and Kia up again 2-1. But wait, fifth inning of the game, Yoo Han-jin with 2-man on, going, gone, a 3-run shot, and Nexen takes the lead 4-2. Ninth inning, Nexen up 5-2, Lee Bum-ho, 2-run single to left. He has 4 RBIs in this game, but not enough as the Nexen Heroes hang on to win this game 5-4, your final score. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I'm Simon O, and that, of course, means it's time for us to see what's trending online this week on Viral Feed. Let's get started right away because I have some amazing stories. I'm really excited today because I know Viral Feed is always a lot of fun, but it's especially good this week. Let's take a look. For our first video, we're going to be having a look at a couple of guys who have some dance moves. Let's have a look. Now, the first dance starts at a wedding hall. It's a congratulatory performance for the newlyweds, and here you see the groom taking his place. He's no bystander. Not bad. Ladies, just know he prepared all of this just for his bride, so if you ever need anything to brag your boyfriend or husband over, I guess this is a pretty good candidate. Pretty impressive. Now this one, here's another one, a gift from a guy to his bride. It was a gift from new husband Sean Raji to his new bride. And it's a good thing his groomsmen were all willing to do this for him. I don't know that my buddies would have done that for me. Look at that. So that's really a gift from the heart, I think. I do hope that this couple lives happily ever after all that effort. Oh man, I think some appreciation is in order.
Well, it's good that this one is actually facing the bride this time.
Yeah,
as opposed to the one.
It's a bit more appropriate, isn't it? Hold on though, we're not done yet. Here's another group of dancing men, but check out their feet.
Wow.
I don't know whether to be impressed or appalled.
These guys are rocking it in heels, and I think they're putting the sexy songstress Beyonce to shame. This is a clip of professional French choreographer Yannis Marshall and his friends, and it was taken from the rehearsal for the final stage of, get this, the very popular talent show, Britain's Got Talent.
They are good.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't get first place, but as you can see from this, it's not for lack of trying. That was pretty darn impressive.
Can you imagine if they tried that at a wedding, if that was one of the...
Now, that would be one heck of a wedding performance.
I don't know if that would have
remember.
people saying, man, you've got a great catch, or people saying, maybe you should rethink this.
You know what it is? It's the beard and the heels. Those two just don't seem to
It's
go.
an odd and intriguing combination. All right, let's move on to our next story. It's also a good one. If you've been a guy in Korea with a girlfriend or wife, I think there's some stuff in here that you can sort of, I guess, sort of understand perhaps, or also even learn from. Let's have a look at the video. Now this guy, as you can see, looks exhausted.
Oh, yes.
So you gotta ask, what could have been so tiring? Well, pay close attention because we have some tips for you.
Yes.
If you go shopping with your girlfriend, here's what you do. Everything she tries on is beautiful, and you get the whole woo! And you have to carry all her bags. And this is my favorite part. Share the knowing glance.
This carries into marriage, by the way. This doesn't stop.
Right, it never stops.
Here's another one. We see a group of guys who don't look all that comfortable. They're hot, they're impatient. So what's going on? Well, ladies, if you go to the bathroom, this is what we look like outside waiting for you, carrying your bags. It's not a lot of fun.
Well, not all girls make their boyfriend do that.
Many. Enough that I think that anyone who watches this will think, yeah, I can sort of understand what that
I've
feels
always
like.
believed that my husband was happy waiting for me, right, when I was changing to try on new clothes.
That's what all the women
He's
seem
always
to
happy,
think.
though. No?
It's what you believe. It's what you want to see, right?
As we saw in the video, that whole "woo, you look beautiful" thing, that's, I think,
All
at
an
least
act?
80% an act. Okay, before I get myself in trouble, let's move on to our next story. Now, this clip is pretty impressive. It's an advertisement, but it's produced in a movie trailer format. It's almost like an epic sort of Michael Bay or Roland Emmerich kind of film. Have a look and try to guess what the ad is for. Now, the trailer starts with an emergency alert. It's of a kind that we've never heard of before. It's an emergency pour alert, and it's destroying lives worldwide. Now, amid all this chaos, we hear news of one man who this summer will save everyone on Earth. Now, he finds the perfect solution in the world's only poor, clean area, and that is Jeju-do Island right here in Korea. So what exactly did he find? All his research.
The volcanic minerals.
Eureka, the volcanic minerals. Now, apparently, the Jeju volcanic clay started clearing the places of everyone on the planet, and the emergency crisis was averted. Everyone is saved, everyone's happy, everyone has beautiful skin.
So the rocks with the most pores helps clear up your pores.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? I don't know if that's irony or not,
Genius.
but I do find it. I just think that the production value on this thing is just incredible. It did make me think, that's something that I might actually have to try out because the makeup
top,
people
I
before
think.
we start this morning or every morning, they have the most trouble with me. So maybe that's something I need to try.
They have plenty of trouble with me too.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, most of the time with makeup videos, it's always the product and then someone really beautiful, whether a man or a woman. I'm glad to see someone trying something a little bit different. So that's something else. All right, now moving on to our next story. I do try to come in here every week and have you guys go, aw. And for the past couple of weeks, I've taken it easy on myself. Babies. No, it's child's play. So this time I'm gonna make it a little bit more interesting. Instead of babies, we're going to be having a look at animals. And let's get warmed up with this. Now, it came as news to me, but apparently, dressing up your guinea pigs and taking photos of them, fashion shoot photos of them and posting them online, it's not anything new. Now, have a look at this. This is a series of photographs taken by a 23-year-old Dutch woman. And what I find amazing is, apparently this isn't just a series of photographs, this is video. And what that tells me is that the guinea pigs know enough about this photo shoot that they're gonna stay still and be photographed. Look at how they maintain eye contact with the camera. It's amazing. It's amazing. I think they do this a lot better than I could. So instead of this though, this was just getting warmed up. I have an amazing series of videos of animals who really know how to eat and eat well. Let's take a look. Nom, 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 nom. We start with a rabbit who can't get enough of the raspberries. This is my personal favorite. Oh, look how earnest she is eating corn off the cob. It makes me want to have a bite. She's so happy and enthusiastic. And get this, fun fact that I didn't know before, dogs don't like the rinds either. They only eat the sweet part. You see that? Who would have known? We see this strange ape who has a ball of rice.
Strange
Not gonna let that go.
That is a cute little furry animal.
His eyes look so
A sad looking furry
anyway?
animal. And we have a red panda who has my kind of taste, carbo loading. That's all bread. I gotta tell you, this
There's
is
your
a great
nobody
way
right
to
there.
finish. There's your nobody. And pretty well mannered, stays at the table while he finishes eating his delicious grapes. I love that.
I mean, that's kind of the animal version of what we call mukbang, right?
Right.
To eat, and bang is broadcast.
Right.
So one of the good mukbang
Our Fridays,
people.
our Friday
Exactly, that's
newscast.
exactly what that is, right?
Now, there have been thousands of videos and channels online of people eating, and for whatever reason, I still can't really figure it out. Hundreds of thousands of people tuning in to watch that, but I gotta say, of all the examples I've seen, these animals give it a pretty good go. I think they're, as far as mukbang goes, these guys have got it down. So, alrighty, you guys, that's it for this week. I hope you've had a lot of fun. I know I did. It's Faro Feed, and I'll be seeing you again next week with more. Ciao for now.
All right, once again, it is Monday. It's time to get a look at a foreigner doing something that they want to do, knocking things off their bucket list while in Korea. And today we'll be looking at a traditional dance. Joining us is Chamina. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Before I begin, I want to ask you guys, are you familiar with what this is?
No, what is that?
Wow, that was so fake. Yes, it's a
I'm sure you're very
fan,
familiar.
right.
It is. It's a fan, but it's not the type of fan that you would pull out of a hot summer day to cool yourself off. This is the fan that the Korean traditional dancers use in what is known as the fan dance or 부채춤. We call this a 꽃부채, which translates literally into a flower fan. And our guest today, Jaye Wynn from America, she wanted to learn this particular art form. So, and I believe she did very well. So let's take a closer look at this. Today's challenger is Jaye Wynn, and she's on her way to a dance studio at a university in Yongin City. And her challenge is to try the traditional Korean fan dance. We could tell that she was really excited.
Been here for 5 years.
Yep. Jaye Wynn is from the U.S. and she's no stranger to dance. She
can
likes
dance.
to try different forms of dance. And of course, after coming to Korea, she couldn't help but become interested in Korean traditional dance.
Love buchechum. I don't get to see buchechum in America. And when I came here, the first thing I saw was this beautiful art form. And I thought, I have to learn this.
그래요, 반가워요. 네.
The traditional dance that she was most taken with is one of Korea's most elegant and aesthetically pleasing, the fan dance. It's quite popular and is taught through various Korean culture centers worldwide.
It really is beautiful. beautiful. It takes your breath away.
No matter how many times you've seen it, you never quite...
Every time.
Yeah, every time it gets you.
Jumping right in, Jaye got her lesson from a professor of dance. The professor started with instructions on how to hold the fan properly. And it isn't as easy as you would think. You'll notice that these fans are quite big. Jaye had long, slender fingers that helped her grasp the fan without any major difficulties.
엄지손가락을 가지고 풀었다, 접었다, 브레이크를 걸었다, 말았다 하는 거예요.
Now she learned how to snap her wrist to open and close the fan. This was also a move that Jaye would need in the fan dance later. She continued learning fan manipulating techniques and practicing. The dance professor stressed the importance of being in tune with your own breathing because how Jaye breathed would determine how her fan moved. Time to learn the footwork now. The elegant lines of the fan dance required equally elegant steps. For this dance, Jaye had to remember to place her heel down first and gently roll through to the balls of her feet. She had all the basics, but it wasn't going to be easy remembering all of them at once. Regardless, practice makes perfect, and Jaye kept going.
Here, your body is doing one thing. You have to remember to breathe and bob. Your hands are doing something else. And then you have the fans that are doing their own thing. So together, you have to be coordinated to do this, or it would be very difficult.
Well, I would be very poor at it.
All right, now that the basic techniques are down, the next step is choreography, the highlight of the Korean fan dance. It's interesting that this fan dance really portrays the Korean way. It's about cooperation, harmony, relying on each other to get the best result. Even with the littlest details, you had to coordinate with the person next to you, such as the height of the fans, the pace of your moves. And all this was no easy feat for a newbie.
It's one of those things that you can't shine alone. Right? You have to, it's a team effort.
Right.
꽃도 예쁘지만 내 얼굴도 예뻐야 돼. 스마일, 웃으면서 해야 돼.
And as in all forms of dance, movements are external reflections of your internal emotions. After all that practice, Jaye was going to get a chance to try the whole thing in full wardrobe.
Oh wow, she looks beautiful.
Oh yes. The hanbok set the tone for Jaye. Although this was not an official on-stage performance, Jaye was all business. Her moves may have been a bit rough, but she didn't forget to smile. The wardrobe, the vibrantly colored fans, and the dancers working as one, it's a beautiful sight. With her height, she had some difficulty with the wave move during practice, but Jaye managed to overcome that in the performance. She did admit that though she looked like she had things under control, she was shaking like a leaf on the inside.
Oh, they made her the center girl.
Very pretty, and she moved in sync with her fellow dancers for the choreography of the flower move.
I wonder if it makes it more difficult for her because she seems to be the tallest one.
Right, maybe.
Probably the ones
정말 잘할 수
beside her.
있을까? 이 한국 장사하고 할수 있기 때문에 잘할 수 있을까 걱정을 했는데요. 매우 잘 따라오고 역시 춤에 좀 소질이 아주 많은 것 같아요.
Learning a new skill in a different language, it's hard, but Jaye did it. Dancing is a universal language.
So I got to work as a group instead of just an individual person, which kind of reflects on the Korean culture. So even after today, I think I'll continue learning Buchecham. I enjoyed it.
Well, she learned it quick, and she also pulled it off in flying colors, I have to say.
Can we give it a try? I know you brought some fans.
Absolutely, I did bring some around.
Oh, like,
so I'm going
dangerous
to
right here.
pass this around. I want to see Young do it in particular.
Here you go.
What am I supposed to do?
I think as a Korean woman, I think growing up, you always try the fan dance.
How did you do it?
Yeah, it just. There you go.
Right, you're
good.
doing it
Let's try
exactly how
this.
you're supposed to.
Should we try the wave? Yeah, let's
Okay.
try
Which
the
way are we
wave.
supposed to
It's
hold
really
on
the
to
fun.
it?
Okay, you start from the top.
Okay,
like
okay,
that,
and then
like that.
follow me.
That's right.
And then
we're
like terrible.
Come on, we have to get this right. We want a full shot. You have to. I cannot. I cannot let my reputation go down like
Let's
this.
start with.
Just go up.
Just down. Okay, not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
Okay, well, this is pretty bad. What did I tell you about not shining by yourself?
You know, I guess you do have to take some lessons. We will try to coordinate this later on
Right,
and
this is
put on a
pretty bad.
performance for
Oh,
our
this is
viewers one of these
embarrassing.
days, right?
Yeah.
But she was really good,
Yeah, for
Jaye,
us.
and she wants to be the PR ambassador for the Korean fan dance.
Yeah, absolutely. She told our staff actually that she had such a big interest in this particular Korean fan dance that she self-proclaimed herself as the U.S. ambassador for Korean dance. And this is because she is a dancer in general. She just loves all different forms of dances. And this one, though, it really requires a lot of different disciplines, as you could tell by trying it out yourself. It requires precision, of course, but also harmony with the other dancers, as well as movement in the fingers. Apparently, it's all in the wrist. Here.
Wait,
So
show
we're
us.
doing
Give
it.
us a. Wait. Okay, so just.
I think I can't do the snap thing.
Oh, yeah, you did it. I know what?
I figured it out.
Yeah, this move, if I can remember.
These fans are big, by the way.
Right.
They
yeah.
didn't seem that
Like, you're
big,
supposed
but.
to, in one of the scenes, you're
They take up half your body. Yeah.
and then you go like this.
And then here, yeah.
Like that.
And then so you're the.
Right, little
Exactly.
minjong
This is a-
flower here.
this is a flower
Yes,
right
exactly.
This is great. This is
This
great.
is great. And right, and there's a place where you can learn the fan dance.
Yeah, tell us how people can get some more information on the fan dance.
Absolutely. In Korea, there is the Dance Association of Korea, and this is where you can get more information on the Korean traditional fan dance, as well as other forms of Korean traditional dances. So here is a website that you can find out where they're offering classes or lessons, as well as just learning about other different forms of dance as well.
You know, I was looking at Jaye Wynn. She actually has a background in dance. You mentioned you saw some of her hip hop dance performances. Maybe this
She's
could be an
good.
inspiration for a new creation, like hip Korean fan dance
Oh
or something.
yeah,
like
maybe
that.
some fusion dance can
Yeah.
come out of this. Yeah, combining hip hop and fan dance. Why not? Yeah. For people overseas, though, of course, there are an unlimited amount of sources online that you can find more information about, or also the Korean Cultural Service or the King Sejong Institute Foundation also has a lot of great sources for you to find out more information or details about the Korean traditional fan dance.
All right, for some of our viewers who might want to participate in our segment here, what do you suggest? How can they get some more information or sign up?
Oh, okay. On Ins and Outs, of course, we invite any foreigner who has lived in Korea for at least 6 months and wants to experience something new about Korea and wants to check off that one thing on that bucket list to sign up on our website, and you can access that on arirang.co.kr.
Thank you, Mina, so
Thank
much.
you.
See you next week.
Yes,
We'll be
I had
back
fun with this
another-
one.
All right, well, we'll make young
you've
into
planned
a
something.
big
Yeah, should we make
young
him a
into
flower
a
here?
flower
You know, our viewers
as
would
we
be appalled.
wrap up the show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.
All right, thank you. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.